On the show tonight, filmmaker and musician Billie Bob Thornton returns to the show to talk about his life in music and to perform a song off his new album. And singer-songwriter Daniel Johnston, star of the recently released documentary The Devil and Daniel Johnston, joins Heidi May for an exclusive musical performance. It's going to be a great show. Don't go away. America collectively gulped recently when reports of Exxon chairman Lee Raymond's executive retirement package estimated at over $400 million hit the news. In a time when gas prices are at an all-time high and the American worker is facing an uncertain financial future, the last thing anyone wants to hear is that Exxon's profits are at an all-time high, in excess of $35 billion. News of Mr. Raymond's last trip to the trough outraged millions of Americans, not to mention the stockholders. Nowhere else in the world, except in places dominated by a tyrant like Saddam Hussein, do the rich reward themselves as lavishly as they do here. Now, didn't we go to Iraq to liberate all those Iraqians from under the oppressive weight of that motherfucker, Saddam Hussein? Not only are American execs leading the global corporate pack in self-inflicted gifting, they're giving themselves more money than ever before. According to a survey of 200 large companies done by Pearl Myron Partners, the average pay for chief execs in 2005 increased 27%. The Labor Department suggests that the average worker's salary increased 2.9%. So, when Sean Hannity and the president tell you that the economy is strong and to cheer the fuck up, chances are they're not talking to you, so you should just butt out and get back to work. As you can quickly surmise, there's only so much money to go around, and as long as these execs keep rewarding themselves for rewarding themselves, their actions will impact retirement packages and the financial security of millions of hardworking Americans. Help! Help! Is there a compassionate conservative in the White House? In any house? Many of these overpaid corporate chiefs are dicks. Many of them are friends, partners, and allies of another dick, Dick Cheney and his good time pal, President Bush. Now, if birds of a feather flock together, then it's only elementary that Bush and Cheney must also be dicks. Eureka! Bush and Cheney are dicks! Bush and Cheney are dicks! Now go and poll that! It's my pleasure to welcome back to the show actor, writer, director, and musician Billie Bob Thornton. Billie Bob has a full slate of upcoming film roles, but it's the release of his newest album, Hobo, that we will focus on today. Billie Bob, thanks for coming by one more time.
Anytime.
So, you are our first return guest, which means we probably didn't fuck it up last time. So we did something right. So we appreciate that you came back down.
It's my pleasure.
Here's something that you've run into, no doubt. The actor has made an album. Automatically, you have just lost like 10% traction.
Absolutely.
Or more.
Yeah.
10%, that's
Probably
being
more.
nice. And
Sure.
everyone always rips him harder than the great rap guy who's now kicking ass in movies.
Right, exactly.
And everyone goes, wow, he's so good. But when the actor makes the record, everyone's like, oh, Christ, here we go with that bullshit.
Absolutely. And you know, what's funny about it is, first of all, you know, we all grew up as kids wanting to be in a band. So what's different from, you know, like whoever it is, you know, me or whatever actor it is, wanting to be in a band, and a guy who ended up in a band who was never an actor wishing the same thing. It's all the same thing.
But there's a perception of it.
But there is a perception of it. And And the fact is, it's like anything in life, it's always kind of 50-50. I mean, there are plenty of actors who make records who are just doing it as a novelty thing or whatever because they want to do it. And there are plenty of musicians who want to be in a movie just because it's like, you know, they think maybe the quality of chicks is different or whatever they want to do it. But then there are also 50% of the actors who are musicians and always were, who can make a record as easy as anybody else can, and vice versa with musicians going in movies. I'll put it to you this way. There's plenty of shitty music out there made by people who were never actors. And there's plenty of good music out there by people who have never been actors, and vice versa. So it doesn't really mean anything at the end of the day. I mean, if you write a song, you write a song. Yeah. I just, you know, I think, well, I'll put it this way. If you're a car salesman and then suddenly you decide to have a second job because you need more money or whatever it is, and on the weekends you work as a carpenter, nobody says, hey,
Yeah.
did you see the shitty carpentry work this guy's doing? He's a car salesman. You know, it just doesn't happen. And I guess a painter, if he sculpts a bust or whatever, people don't mind that either. For some reason, it's very specific to the actor-musician thing.
I've seen it so many times. Well, okay, you recorded a song earlier today, and we're about to watch it. So let's talk about that. It's the title track. It's Hobo, yeah?
Title track of the record, Hobo. Just basically a story about a guy who's like a street person, say in Santa Monica or wherever, and he's there on the street and he's looking around thinking, when I was a kid, my mother used to feed guys like me because my grandmother and my mother, we would have these guys, these drifters come through our little town, and they would come to the back door, I mean, for a handout. And so I just remember them doing that. And sometimes if my grandmother trusted them, and she had a real good instinct, my grandmother, they would actually come in and sit at the table with us and eat with us. And so I thought, what an interesting story to have a guy whose life went in some bad direction and he ends up as a street person, and he's thinking back, and it's like, wow, I'm one of those guys now. And, you know, grandma's gone, right. You know, and you know, wishing that it was like it was back in those days when you could actually come knock on somebody's door and they give you something to eat, you know, but it's really not that way anymore. So that's what the song's about.
Well, let's take a listen. This is recorded earlier. This is Billie Bob Thornton performing the title track of his new album, Hobo.
Mama used to feed the hobos. Now I'm a hobo. I'm a hobo. Mama used to feed the hobos. Now I'm a hobo. I'm a hobo. Mama used to feed them scraps and things. Now I eat scraps and things. I eat scraps and things. Mama used to feed them scraps and things. Now I eat scraps and things. I eat scraps and things. Said California is gonna fall in the ocean, gonna fall in the ocean. Mama said California is gonna fall in the ocean. Now I'm in the ocean. When I was a child, I loved the people. a child, I loved the people. Now I'm afraid of the people. I'm afraid of the people. Mama used to feed the hobos. Now I'm a hobo. I'm a hobo. Mama used to feed the hobos. Now I'm a hobo. I'm a hobo. Mama used to feed the hobos. Now I'm a hobo. I'm a hobo. Mama used to feed the hobos. Now where is Mama? Where is Mama?
The songs, you know, the lyrics, they're stories. To me, it's like these kind of these California stories. Tell me about why you went for that, because it is a very each song is like a small movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's these people passing through it, and some are kind of tragic.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, you know, I didn't intend to. Well, you know, I mean, you know yourself as a writer that when people ask you what made you do that, why did you write it this way?
Yeah, were you inspired by a single, like you wanted to get a thing going, like I'm going to tell stories on this record, or?
Not really. That's just kind of the way I write. I was making a movie called The Ice Harvest with John Cusack, and I was in Chicago, and I wrote the title song, Hobo, there in the hotel room, and then I wrote this song called El Centro on $5 a day. And then I realized that I was writing a thing that could become a thematic record. I mean, so I didn't set out to do it, but it very quickly became that. And then I thought, well, you know what? I'm just going to write a record about the pilgrimage to California, because we've all done that. So that's what it became, you know, stories of people coming to California. It could be a doctor or a bum or whoever, you know, coming out here. But everybody's got a story about coming here. And so it's a collection of stories about the California experience, and in particular, the pilgrimage to California, and how California, in a lot of ways, is the last resort for people sometimes, or the last frontier.
And people have been doing that for centuries.
Yes, exactly.
And it's the gold rush, but only the gold has changed.
Right. That's
know?
exactly true.
Yeah.
And it's very sort of, well, you know, it's Steinbeck, really. I mean, not my writing, but I mean, the idea behind it is what he wrote, you know.
And Fonte, you know, about these people trying to eke it out in California.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we had a chance to just not talk about film all the time and just get into the music thing.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in and being on the show again, and thanks for you know, letting the band play. I really appreciate that. So
sure.
I hope you enjoyed that as well.
Oh, I certainly did.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Coming up a bit later in the show, an exclusive musical performance from Daniel Johnston. But first, I reconsider fast food. I've noticed a new trend in food-related TV shows and books recently, with people running around to far-off lands like Cambodia, India, and Tijuana to sample extreme foods so that we don't have to. It's all vaguely impressive, but really, what could be more extreme than eating at your local fast food franchise? You're not just buying a regular meal, you're buying a ticket to the outer limits of human potential and tolerance. In our boring, day-to-day lives, fast food has become the last refuge for people to really shine. Because fast food is the ordinary man's heroic journey through exploration, self-doubt, adversity, and triumph. Here's what I mean. One day, you walk into a Burger King instead of McDonald's, and there's a new burger featuring 3 beef patties, fried eggplant, and chestnut gravy. You admit that, yes, it looks disgusting, but you know if you walk away, you would appear weak to the teenage cashier. So you order that burger, and it's the size of a groundhog, and it smells vaguely like sour couscous. You have to hold your lemonade under your nose so you don't throw up. But you sit down, and you smile at the obese twins flirting at you from the next booth. You brace yourself, and you charge straight into your meal's heart of darkness. You finish 15 minutes later, panting from exertion, mouth glazed with grease, and basking in the sedating effects of 93 fat grams strolling through your screaming body. But you're satisfied with the fact that no one else in that particular restaurant on that day at that exact time could throw a meal back just like you did. It was your Everest, and you conquered it. Freestyle. Now, nothing else matters except for finding the nearest bathroom. Remember, we can all be champions every day. Go for the extra large. And now, here's Heidi May with an exclusive musical performance from Daniel Johnston.
Thanks, Henry. Daniel Johnston started his music career by handing out homemade cassettes of his music to friends in his adopted hometown of Austin, Texas. Championed by fans and musicians like the Butthole Surfers and Kurt Cobain, Daniel's unique and heartfelt music has found a following all over the world. I am honored to introduce Daniel Johnston, Uncut.
Seems like her broken heart, the loving part was missing. As the drama unfolds, she's lost the art of loving. Nowhere is where she goes to find her piece of nothing. Seems like she's had enough, but she's always up to something. And now as the story goes, another day is dying. She's already changed her clothes and in disgrace she's laughing. It wasn't so long ago she had me so temptated. And with no obligation I was feeling so sedated. Now I'm left pretty dumb and every bit retarded. Now the fires that burn are more than what she started. And now as the story goes, another day is dying. She's already changed her clothes and in disgrace she's laughing. It's just a show of shows, is that all she's thinking? And maybe I told her so, I'm thankful that I'm living. Another day in the past and every hour I'm haunting. Everybody is wearing a mask, playing skip to the loo, my darling. And now as the story goes, another day is dying. She's already changed her clothes and in disgrace she's laughing away. No one knows the sorrow of a broken heart that's bleeding. Seems as though she never cares for no one that's despairing, more or less love. And somehow she was lying time after time. She gave it all away without trying. Death can take you for a ride like a bird that's falling. No one knows the sorrow of a broken heart that's bleeding. Seems as though she never cares for no one that's despairing, like rain upon an open grave.
Thank you again to my guests, Daniel Johnston and Billie Bob Thornton. Before we go, with big oil jacking up the prices to get a solid return on Bush campaign donations, this week's end credits go to Cyrus Avery and Chevy Chase, two icons of a dying American tradition, the summer road trip. Cyrus Avery is considered the father of Route 66 and much of the modern-day interstate system. As president of the Highway Association in 1926, Avery was charged with designing several routes, including Chicago to Los Angeles. This interstate became the legendary Route 66, traveled by beatniks, musicians, and college students looking to go west. More than 50 years later, the Griswolds embarked upon a similar Chicago to California journey. In Vacation, Chevy Chase hysterically epitomized the eager optimism of a Reagan-era suburban father. Although his family eventually finds America's heartland as appetizing as a damp picnic sandwich, his faith saves the trip upon arrival to reality-insulated Wally World. So don't let high gas prices jeopardize the American road trip. I say fight back, $4 a gallon at a time. Get out on the road and explore the open country before it's all overtaken by suburban sprawl and strip malls. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.